There's a video, 48 seconds long, shot casually on a phone. Shaky camera, dogs barking in the background, voices overlapping the way they do when nobody's paying attention to the recording. The kind of video families make every single day and forget about. In it, a young man and his father are walking around their property in South Carolina. They're laughing about a tree, not money, not legal problems, not the pressure slowly building around their family, just a tree that grew sideways. That video was recorded at 8:44 p.m. on June 7, 2021. Less than an hour later, that young man was dead, and so was his mother, found nearby, shot multiple times. The man behind the camera, the husband, the father, the last known person with them alive, was not among the dead. He would become the prime suspect. This is the story of Alex Murdaugh. And the deeper you go into this case, the harder it becomes to know where the lies end and the truth even starts. To understand this story, you have to understand the family. In Hampton County, South Carolina, the Murdaugh name carried power for nearly 100 years. For generations of prosecutors, people knew the name, respected it, sometimes feared it. Alex Murdaugh grew up right in the center of that world, and by most accounts, he was built for it. Charismatic, funny, the kind of attorney who remembered your kids' names and shook every hand in the room. He had a wife named Maggie, 52 years old, 2 sons, Buster and Paul, a sprawling hunting estate called Moselle. Money, connections, status. From the outside, a perfect Southern dynasty. But underneath all of that, things had been quietly rotting for years. Prosecutors later claimed Alex was secretly stealing millions of dollars. Not from corporations, from clients, accident victims, grieving families, people who trusted him during the worst moments of their lives. $10 to $12 million. Over many years. At the same time, he was heavily addicted to opioids, taking a staggering number of pills every single day. And somehow, most people around him couldn't tell. What really gets me about that is this: he kept functioning, kept working, kept shaking hands and appearing in courtrooms. The addiction was invisible to almost everyone who knew him. Sometimes people don't collapse all at once. Sometimes they keep smiling while their entire life rots underneath them. And by June of 2021, everything was beginning to cave in at the same time. June 7, 2021. Earlier that day, the chief financial officer at Alex's law firm confronted him about $792,000 in missing funds. That conversation happened during the day. That same night, Maggie and Paul were dead. At 8:44 p.m., Paul recorded that now-famous cell phone video near the dog kennels at Moselle. You can hear voices in the background. One of them belongs to Alex. That detail changed everything. Because when investigators first spoke to Alex, he told them he had not been at the kennels that evening. Said he'd been sleeping inside before leaving to visit his mother in Alameda. But the video said otherwise. His voice, clearly audible, at the kennels, 45 minutes before both Maggie and Paul were killed. Eventually, Alex admitted it was him. Blamed paranoia from opioid addiction. Said he didn't trust law enforcement. Maybe all of that is true. But lying about your location in the hour before your wife and son are murdered is not a small thing. That's the kind of detail that follows a person into every courtroom and never leaves. At 10:06 p.m., Alex called 911. My wife and child have been shot badly. Maggie and Paul were found near the kennels. Shot multiple times, each in the head, wrists, and chest. 2 different weapons. A rifle for Maggie, a shotgun for Paul. The coroner estimated they died between 9 and 9:30 p.m. The violence was extreme, personal, and what happened after police arrived made everything worse. 25 people wandered through that property that night. Evidence wasn't preserved. A bloody footprint near Paul's body turned out to belong to law enforcement. Tire tracks were never matched. No murder weapons were ever recovered. The forensic detail that still bothers me most: organic material found under Maggie's fingernails was only sent to the state lab, not the FBI, not a specialized facility. Results came back listing it only as human male. That's it. Nothing more. Did investigators try harder and fail? Or did they stop trying too early? I keep coming back to that question. 3 months later, September 4th, 2021, Alex Murdaugh called 911 again. This time, he said he'd been shot in the head on the side of a rural road. Then investigators found the truth. Alex had arranged the shooting himself. He provided a gun to a man named Curtis Edward Smith and asked him to pull the trigger, so his son Buster could collect a $10 million life insurance payout. The wound was superficial. Alex survived. 2 days later, he entered rehab. His law firm forced him out. He was disbarred. Financial crime investigations multiplied. Former clients realized their money was gone. In July 2022, he was indicted for the murders of Maggie and Paul. The trial began January 25, 2023 in Walterboro, South Carolina. 6 weeks. Wall-to-wall coverage. America couldn't stop watching, partly because the case was shocking, but also because nobody could fully decide what Alex Murdaugh actually was. A grieving father? A manipulative liar? A drug addict spiraling beyond recognition? Or a killer hiding behind all three? Then Alex took the stand. He admitted what the video had already proven. I lied about being down there, and I'm so sorry that I did. The prosecution focused on motive. Alex had been confronted about $792,000 in missing funds that same day. They argued he killed Maggie and Paul to create distraction and sympathy, to escape accountability. Honestly, that motive has always felt complicated to me. Murdering your own wife and child to buy yourself a few weeks from a financial investigation is an almost irrational leap. The defense countered with what wasn't there. No murder weapons. No DNA. No eyewitnesses. Shell casings only described as similar, not definitively matched. But after 6 weeks, the jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty. 2 consecutive life sentences. During sentencing, Judge Clifton Newman said something that still stays with me. It might not have been you. It might have been the monster you became when you took 50 opioid pills a day. Not exoneration, but something more complicated than pure evil. Most murder cases end with the verdict. This one didn't. After the conviction, Alex's defense team spent months driving around rural Culleton County, knocking on jurors' doors. What they found was deeply troubling. Multiple jurors claimed the court clerk, Becky Hill, made comments during the trial suggesting Alex was guilty, telling them not to trust his testimony, telling them to watch his body language. Then another detail surfaced. Becky Hill had been working on a book about the case while the trial was still happening. A book that would sell far better with a guilty verdict. In December 2025, Hill pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice, perjury, and misconduct in office. Her sentence? 3 years of probation. Then, on May 13, 2026, the South Carolina Supreme Court overturned Alex Murdaugh's murder conviction. Unanimously, 5-0. The court said Hill had placed her fingers on the scales of justice, that her conduct was shocking and egregious, that it unquestionably was intended to push the jury to a guilty verdict. 2 life sentences. Vacat. Days later, Alex's attorneys filed a $600,000 civil rights lawsuit against Becky Hill. Alex Murdaugh remains in prison, serving 27 years for financial crimes in state court, and 40 years concurrently in federal prison for fraud. But the murder case is starting all over again. His lawyers say they have new evidence, new witnesses, new directions they've been investigating for 3 years. Through all of it, I keep coming back to the same 2 people, Maggie and Paul, a wife and mother, 52 years old, a son, just 22, killed on their own property on a summer evening in South Carolina. They deserved better than a clerk's book deal, better than a political campaign's talking point, better than a crime scene processed by 25 people with no gloves. They deserved truth. And somehow, years later, after a conviction and a Supreme Court reversal, it still feels like we're searching for it. Tell me what you think in the comments. Do you believe Alex Murdaugh killed Maggie and Paul? Or is there something in this story we still haven't fully seen? Subscribe if you want more cases like this, the ones that refuse to stay settled. Because this one is nowhere near finished. I'll see you in the next one.